All right, Jimmy. Well, yeah, we've come to the final, mate. And when I've been talking to a lot of our colleagues, my friends, about we're going to take you back to the World Cup final, they literally don't even want to know. And even I'm feeling a slight sort of mixture of scared anticipation and anxiety about this. But in my comms with you so far, mate, you seem like you're okay to talk about it. So I think we just go and barge on in. And I think we're going to get some help, actually, which will help us in terms of the English perspective. So we're very lucky to bring in the English point of view. Our guest tonight, he began his career way back in 2005. That was literally when you were just starting in high school, I believe, Nish. His career has had many twists and turns, and it came to a stunning climax at that World Cup final when he claimed 3 big wickets. He's a big fast bowler, and he was best described to me by our own captain, Kane Williamson, as a good bloke, which is as high a rank as you can possibly get in New Zealand, to be fair. He's our guest on the Cricket Cast tonight from SW19 in Wimbledon, England pace bowler, World Cup winner, Liam Plunkett. Liam, thanks for joining and welcome to the show, mate.
Cheers, mate. I hope the signal's working. Have you got me?
Absolutely, Nish. You got him nice and clear there. Obviously, a bit of a false start last night with the lines down. Where were you?
I was back up in Harrogate. We live in a bit of the sticks, a bit like you guys, to be honest, mate. So, yeah, the signal wasn't that good. But fortunately, we came down to London last night, and yeah, it seems to be working good. So, happy days.
Came down to London to do the Cricket Cast. That's just a huge commitment.
Just for you, mate. Just for you.
Well, 1 year on from the Cricket World Cup, it kind of conjures up all sorts of memories for New Zealand fans, and I imagine quite contrasting and, share relation ones for you. How often do you think about it? How often do you talk about it? Can you take us your perspective on that match?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, apart from seeing the clips and stuff on Instagram and whatever, and I'd probably recorded just my bowling from the World Cup. I didn't watch too much. I just watched the bits that you like, a bit like Neesham. You probably do the same when you slog a few out the park. It's always nice to see the good parts of stuff. But I didn't watch the whole game back until recently. The guys got together about maybe 2 months ago, and we did like a Zoom with all the players together, and the guys are filtering in and out of the Zoom chat all day, and that was quite nice to sit back and watch that. So that was good fun. That was the first time I watched that back. But yeah, I mean, it's quite hard because after the World Cup, as much as you want to enjoy that, you got to move on and sort of think about what's next to come. So you can't just live in the past. You enjoy the time, enjoy the celebration, but you can't like live on that. It's nice to have that, and it's the best experience I've had, but you got to move on eventually,
Yeah, I remember after the game, we hung around for a day the next day for media and that kind of stuff, and then I decided to take off and get out of London and get up to Liverpool, and I thought, yeah, I'll be able to escape it, And I went down to London Euston Station and I went to get my ticket, and I looked up and there was this massive banner, like video advertising of England lifting the trophy, and then like fireworks and stuff happening, and it was probably like 40 meters by 10 meters, and I was just like, oh, it's actually a little bit difficult, more difficult than I think, I reckon. and yeah, it's proven that way since. I know Lockie went on a yacht around Croatia, and he said people were asking him about it in pubs around Croatia. So it was kind of amazing to see how far it all reached.
Yeah, I mean, it's because we had that experience a few years back also in the World Cup T20 final. You want to forget about it, but I mean, as I said, you get through that tournament, you guys played amazing cricket, and you get to the final and you get beaten. Like, I guess no one really remembers that sort of when you finish second, and it's like you take a massive hit and you're so close to winning it, and it is a tough pill to swallow, So
yeah, there's a winner and then there's 7 losers or 9 losers, or I suppose is the way the saying goes. But yeah, we have moved forward, obviously, over there. You guys are going through a bit of a challenging time at the moment, but good news on the horizon with cricket starting up again in the near future.
Yeah, I think the test boys start in a couple of days. I think obviously came back to London last night because with Surrey we started training a few weeks back now. So it's nice to get into the Oval. It's obviously a little bit different. I mean, going into the ground, it's like going into a supermarket. You got to keep two meters apart. You got to, if you touch someone else's cricket ball, you got to hand sanitize the ball. So it's quite rude because someone's bowled to you in the net and you go like hit the ball back with a cricket bat. So it's like it's a little bit different. You feel a bit rude, but it's nice to get outside and play some good cricket. And hopefully, as I said, the boys keep within the guidelines so then we don't get shut down and we can actually play some good cricket and maybe play 6-7 weeks, some sort of format where they're at 4-day, T20 or 1 day. Just nice to play. It'd be good for people back home if they can't get to the ground, but at least they can watch like live feeds on YouTube or like the Surrey like web page. So it'd just be nice to finish off that, really.
Yeah, it's amazing, the new normal. I think looking back, if I'd hit the ball back along the ground to Andre Adams or Kyle Mills or someone like that when I started playing, I reckon they might have come down and actually strangled me. So it's interesting that that's become a norm in the nets over there.
Yeah, you can't help but like you actually go and pick it up and then you throw it back and they have to wash their hands, and it's just like it is the new norm. But as I said, it's nice to get out, and actually with me having the red ball in my hand, I've not played hardly any red ball cricket, so the first few went to second slip, but I managed to get my radar back on, so all good.
Liam, we've just been reflecting with Lockie Ferguson as well, was on the show and went through New Zealand's road to the World Cup final. If I could just take you back there. New Zealand obviously lost their last 3 games heading into the final. You guys were actually quite the opposite. You had to win your last 2 just to qualify and beat India and England. So I suppose a contrasting path to meet us on the big stage.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I guess we got beat early on. We got beat a couple of games, and I guess if you're going to get beat in the World Cup, it's good to get beat early and get back on track. We had a couple of discussions. I know after we got beat. Before the India game, we had sat down and had a good chat together, and people sort of projected how they were feeling, because I guess we went to that competition as number 1 and ranked sort of favourites in our home country, and the added pressures, and you start getting beat, and then people start not panicking but start doubt themselves a little bit. So we had a good chat with the sports psychologist, got things out in the open. I wasn't playing at the time, so for me, I mean, I said, listen, I'm pissed off. I'm not playing. But if you weren't playing and you didn't have that feeling, then you shouldn't be involved in international cricket. So, and other people said it's probably the first time in a competition where the public is expected to win a competition. So it's all different sort of feelings towards that. But that sort of helped us. And I guess them 4 games towards the back end leading to the final, we played some really good cricket against obviously the best teams in terms of like India, New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah, I suppose that build up to the final as well obviously would have been pretty contrasting. I remember, there wasn't a whole lot of punditry time dedicated to the New Zealand team. I think it was a lot more around whether you guys would handle the pressure well, the pressure of being favourites, and whether would it be too much and all that kind of stuff, and talking about the England football team and all that kind of junk that comes out in that sort of situation. But I sort of remember our prep being almost bizarrely kind of quite relaxed. It was kind of almost a situation of no one really had expected us to get that far. Obviously, we believed in ourselves, but it was almost the noise from outside the group was, oh, you guys have done better than we expected already, so you've got nothing to lose kind of thing. Whereas for you guys, it was almost the opposite, I guess.
Yeah, I think you guys might have felt that, but I mean, all the other teams would be looking at New Zealand as one of the teams to go ahead and win it, because of nibbling around a bit. You guys play in conditions back home where it does nibble around a little bit, and you play some good cricket. You played well in England before, so I guess you might have felt at ease and you might come across and just play your natural game, and that's what you guys did. But we obviously took you for a massive threat going into the competition. But yeah, you're right in terms of the chat about the football team and how people have failed and not won a trophy for how long. But yeah, it was that. But I also felt deep down, I'm sure the squad did, they felt like if we do play our best cricket, we feel like we're good enough to beat most people on the day. And you have to feel like that. Otherwise, as I said, you shouldn't be competing and you're already beat before you step onto the field. But we did feel confident. But sometimes when you hit them little bumps in the road and there may be some tiny bit of doubts, I guess in a series, when you play 5 games, you can get beat, and we always came back and you win 4-1. But in a World Cup, if you come to a semi-final, quarter-final, you can't afford to get beat. So in the back of your mind, is it, we're going to have a little mess up here, and then you're out of the competition. So you can't afford to get beat at all. But yeah, you're right. I felt it was good for us to get beat early on and then give ourselves a kick up the backside and play our better cricket and just relax and not be in our shell.
Liam, you mentioned the threat of the New Zealand team, particularly in those conditions where it was nibbling around, and the World Cup final, it was another pitch that was, almost custom made for the New Zealand Seamers. You guys had obviously come into the tournament off the back of playing on absolute belters. How much of that was an adjustment, and I suppose even a bit of a surprise to you guys in your own conditions to be playing almost in conditions that favoured the opposition for the big match?
Yeah, it was, because I mean, it suited me because my pace is down, so I just try and nibble it around myself, mate. So yeah, it was tricky, and obviously the way you guys bowled, it was tough, and obviously I thought when you look at it, we kept you to a total, but we knew going in that it was a tough total to get, but it was nibble around. It wasn't hard to get set. Sorry, it wasn't easy to have to get set as a batsman, and we knew it was going to be tough. But as I said, it's England conditions. A lot of the guys have played a lot of games building up to that, county cricket, where the ball does nibble around, and it's not something we're not used to. So we thought, even with the wicket doing a bit, we could still win the game. But obviously the guys bowled well. They've been bowling well the whole tournament, so we knew it was going to be a challenge.
I think 100 for one was at this stage. Was there a few nervous sort of faces around the ground? Obviously, a lot of English fans there as well, particularly given the prowess of your sort of strike bowlers before you sort of came on and picked up a couple of wickets.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Kane's class, one of the best in the world, and these two guys were trying to get themselves set. But we felt New Zealand weren't getting away from us too much. It wasn't like they were flying along. It was a tricky situation, and it's hard to get started in them conditions. So we thought if we get a couple of wickets, you never know what can happen, and the build of pressure, a bit like what happened with us, a few quick wickets, and it's like a World Cup final. Someone's coming out to bat. You never know how people are going to be, if they're nervous or how they're going to react. And I said we keep chipping away, and like for me, bowling is, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, whatever. I'm just going to run up and smash my lengths and try and keep tight. And I think that's what the New Zealand boys did when they're bowling. It was tricky to hit from that length.
Yeah, Nish, what do you think the assessment was at that stage by yourself and the team of what a good wicket was going to be? Good score was going to be on that wicket.
You sort of go as you go along, I guess, when you're batting first in a situation like that. I think the risk as a number 6 batsman, I suppose, and myself and Colin de Grandhomme 6 and 7 is the risk you don't want to run is estimating too high and trying to go too hard and then ending up actually falling 20 or 30 short of what you could have got. So we were trying to, I suppose, play each ball as best we could, and but we did have that kind of 240, 250 kind of score in our mind, the score that had kind of put us in quite good stead throughout the tournament to that point. And we got to a point, myself and Tom Latham were batting, where we just, every time we seemed to get a bit of a platform and decide to have a go, we seemed to lose a wicket just at that inopportune time, and it kind of hamstrung us a little bit moving through that last 10 overs. But at the halfway mark, we definitely knew we were in the game. We'd obviously had the India game the week before where we'd defended a similar total on a similar wicket, and we knew that if we got into them early or we got a bit of luck our way, we'd definitely have a massive chance.
Liam, I imagine both sides probably walked off at 241 going, yep, we back ourselves to have a real good crack here and win this World Cup from here. Yeah,
as Nish was saying, though, like, their guys are so strong. Someone can come in and smack a quick 50 off 20 balls. That's what the power they have. Similar to us as well. You have people who can score runs all the way down the order. But with that total on the board, we thought it might nibble around early on. Let's play sensible. But with our batsmen early on is they play best when they take the ballers on. So you don't want to ask them to go into the shell and say, Johnny, like just watch it around, or J-Roy, because them guys are sometimes good enough to, even if it's nibbling around, they can get quick 50 and you're off to a flyer. Obviously, then you guys started off ball really well and put pressure on us from the word go, and then it was sort of rebuilding but stay positive. So it was, I mean, I think people in this World Cup think there was a chance for people to score 500, and that never happened, and definitely not on that wicket. So it was an amazing game of cricket, and I think that the balls were more involved and it wasn't just an out-and-out run fest. I guess it made it more interesting. Well, for me anyway, so yeah.
I agree.
At one stage here, Jimmy, if we can just go into, I suppose, the bowling side of things. picking up those early wickets. I think they were 86 for 4 at the 24th over. Colin de Gronholm 1 for 25. It's just a pitch that was absolutely rolled out for him. At that stage, you'd have to think you guys were on top, but I suppose with Stokes and Butler at the crease, you knew that there was still plenty of fight in England.
Yeah, it was one of those. I've only just remembered it bizarrely, just looking at this photo, but I'd completely forgotten that Bolty absolutely broke Jay Roy's tibia first ball of the innings, and Murray Erasmus somehow thought it was going down, and then, geez, it was just clipping the outside leg stump, and those are the things you look at, I suppose, looking back, and you go, geez, if that ball had been 3 millimeters to the left, what could have gone differently, but.
Do you remember that in
obviously,
the changing room, Liam? The first ball is not what you want in a nervy chase.
First thing that as I said, Nish, I couldn't even remember that. I've just thought of it now, and when he spoke about it, I think you remember what you want to remember, right? So there's certain things I don't really remember, and you have to go back and watch it and like, oh yeah, that happened. But I guess for me, it's just like you think of the Super Over, and you don't really think about too much else. You think, oh, we've won that. And it's only until you go back and analyse it, oh, that happened. There was change in momentum at that point. So, yeah, but looking back now, yeah, that was pretty plump, to be fair.
While we get both perspectives on it, Jimmy, this is I think an inside edge from Stokesy here, and just couldn't quite break that partnership. Tim taking a low one as well. Bolty the catch on the boundary. Can you remember as it started to get tight at the end, and once again Kane gave you the pat on the bum and told you you're going to have to bowl these crucial overs as it winds down?
Yeah. Jeez, it's painful, looking at photos like that. Yeah, look, obviously, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, as an all-rounder, you keep track of the overs on the board and the state of the game. And we needed to break that Joss Buttler-Ben Stokes partnership before the dying stages of the game, which meant that we had to bring Lockie Ferguson and Trent Boult back early to try and get a wicket, which the domino effect obviously means that I'm going to have to bowl a couple of deaths. So Lockie did get that wicket, thankfully, and then to know you're going to bowl, I think I might have bowled 3 of the last 10 from memory, and obviously it's the things dreams are made of, aren't they? Being bowling at that point in time in a World Cup final. And almost getting us the whole way. Obviously, there are a few different moments there that I think we'd all admit could have gone either way. But I think going into the last 5 hours, it was 6 and 2 threes, and the way it washed up in the end was obviously pretty good for England and not that great for us, I think, if we're honest.
Jimmy, you say that the stuff that dreams are made of. I mean, most amateurs or even their fans will be going, it's the stuff nightmares are made of. Like, you're in the absolute cauldron when it's all on the line. Liam, you went out into bat near the end there when Jimmy was bowling as well. Can you give us an idea of what that atmosphere was like and the tension at Lord's?
It's always when you're watching, you feel more nervous. I think watching the game, as I was just sat with Morgs, I think just chatting and trying to sort of keep calm, and then all of a sudden there's a few wickets, you're like, oh, I actually have to put my pads on and go and bat here. And then you sort of switch over to the cricket side of things. But for me, going out there, I was like, can this be a day that I help win a game? I mean, I had a decent go with the ball, picked up a few wickets, and I thought in my mind is like, sometimes I can hit a few sixes and get a quick 30 or quick 20, and that could have changed the game. And I think that's how I thought about it. Stokesy was flying. If the ball's there, I'm trying to hit a 6, hit a boundary, and that's what I did, and got one away, and then obviously got caught out. But you never know, if you hit a few sixes, the game can shift quickly, and then you don't need many off the last few overs. So a bit like you want a ball, you want to take a flying catch, you want to hit a few sixes to win that game, and I think that's what you're right, makes the difference between professionals and amateurs. You want to be that person to win. So
yeah, absolutely. And Jimmy, I think 15 off the final over. An absolute classic moment, this, depending on who you talk to. Off the bat, where were you watching that? And I suppose, how do you reflect on that moment once again?
Going back to that professionals versus amateurs thing, but there's not much you can do about it, really. You can't take it back if you complain about it, so you just got to sort of cop it on the chin and move forward, I guess.
Liam, can you remember that moment and how it changed the game, and then what the reaction was like there? Had you seen anything like that before?
No, I remember the day before when Stokesy got them bats sent to the dressing room, extra long handles, extra long. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, genius.
Would I rather Stokesy have sat back and covered over 4, completely different to what that was? You want to see it done the correct way, but I think you guys know, we know Stokesy, and that was the way it went. It was a sort of freak incident, but I think Stokesy's one of the most honest people in terms of cricket, so it's disappointing the way it was. As I said, I'd rather it being him hitting the ball out the ground or hitting a 4 and it was done like that, but as I said, it was the way it was a freak incident, but I guess you're not complaining. It's disappointing the way it was won, but I guess that's what happened, right? So
yeah, I'm not sure if it was a little bit ambiguous, but there was no suggestion that it was intentional or anything like that. It's just one of those things that sort of happens. And I mean, I wouldn't have given it back if it had happened to me the other way around. It's just certainly so. It's just one of those strange things in cricket. It's the way the ball bounces sometimes.
I mean, that's what it looked like. You guys just got on with it. You're like, oh, that's happened. You lads just got on with the next ball, right? So
it changed the complexion so much. It put England in the box there, I think 3 off 2. And Jimmy, you guys probably did pretty well from that position, with England needing 3 off 2 to get into a super over, courtesy of a couple of crazy runouts, really. Santner threw it in, Bolt picked it up like a keeper, and I think you even had to field the last one and throw it in. Can you remember coming in to pick that up, knowing your throw had to be on the money, otherwise you were gone?
Yeah, I remember thinking I actually had to do it quickly as well, because I knew that the non-striker wouldn't have waited for the call. He would have just taken off and taken his extra 1.5 meters or whatever. I think it was Mark Wood. So yeah, you're kind of running into the ball, and I suppose that's one of those things you do all the training for, I guess. I think people have asked me a few times, what are you thinking in that situation? And there's never a kind of inkling of, I hope I don't mess this up, or this is really important, or anything like that. It's just a case of, what do I need to do right now? And that was obviously a pretty simple task: pick the ball up and get it to Bolty as quickly as possible. Yeah, obviously I didn't know at that stage that I would be the guy to have to walk out again, but yeah, those are the situations you obviously, I suppose, really cherish being in as an athlete.
And I suppose everyone's minds just had to quickly switch on to the next job, which is a super over, Liam. And had you guys practiced it, planned for it? What was your sort of guys thinking as you realised the game had changed on a knife edge like that?
So when Woody was batting, the way he was running, it was like a kid who just got his first pair of pads. It was the worst running I've ever seen in my life.
Why didn't he have pads on at all? Why didn't he just come out with sneakers and a bat?
He was like, it was like he got like the all-in-one sets where they all come in one package, them filthy white pads. That's what it looked like. But no, we hadn't, mate. I think as a cricketer, the guys who bowl to death, or well, pretty much every bowler, because you never know when you're going to be required. And as I said, people bowl out. You prepare for the death overs, and I guess that's no sort of different. It's obviously a super over, but it's the same mindset as, do I need to bowl Yorkers? Do I need to bowl the slow balls? I think it's the skills that you have and just being, I said, ready to bowl that over. So it'd be no different to bowling the last over in a 50-over game, right? And but no, you don't really think about it. It's such a freak thing. So
did you know that that Jofra would bowl it? And I suppose, who did you think might come out and bat for New Zealand?
I mean, I had my batting spikes done ready to field, so I'm guessing I knew it wasn't me. So yeah, I mean, Jofra's so good at that. He's playing a lot of franchise cricket, and the guys have come across it. He's one of the best death balls around. Wokesy's also good, and Woody gets his Yorkers in. I mean, you're going to take if Morgs comes up to you and say, "Oh, mate, we want you to bowl this over," you're going to say, "Of course." You're not going to refuse it. You can do it, and as you said, it's a chance to win a World Cup for your country. If you bowl 6 absolute seeds, or you get a few wickets and the game's won, that's what you're remembered for. But when Jofra was, I think when we were batting, Jofra was down there on the pitch warming up, a bit like in baseball, a bit like the bullpen. He was getting warm and getting good to go. So yeah, that was nerve-wracking. Being on the field and not knowing I had to bowl was more nerve-wracking than being given the ball.
And who did you expect from New Zealand when you started to think who's going to come out from the other dugout? Did you consider that?
No, I knew Guptill. I'm not sure who's going to come and bat with him. Yeah, obviously that from the first ball from Jofra was an absolute seed that was given a wide, I think. That wide Yorker, was that right? And I thought, oh, here we go, what's going on here? But
I'll show you that video in a short second and get you guys to take it through from the player's perspective. But just quickly, Jimmy, there's this photo here which I absolutely love, mate. You've got a massive smile on your face, and you're literally heading out to bat in a super over at the World Cup final on the line against England at Lord's. Is that as calm and as confident as you look on the inside, or talk us through that, mate?
It's one of those things. I think a lot of people won't know the kind of journey my career went on leading up to that tournament, but that moment there was sort of unfathomable, 8 or 10 months earlier. And that was actually what I said to Guppy at the time. I was like, this is actually genuinely unbelievable, mate. Like, this is so good. We used to play club cricket together way back in 2007, 8 in Auckland. And that's just what I was saying to him there, mate, from Kenmore to Park in West Auckland to the World Cup final at Lord's. Where would you rather be? And it was a pretty special moment. And as I mentioned before, there was no kind of stress or nerves about what was happening. I was just elated to be out there and sort of so excited to be to have earned that opportunity, I guess, playing for your country and obviously one of the biggest games going around.
Just quickly, what was the conversation in the changeover? When did you know that you were going to have to go out and bat in that super over?
We knew, obviously, after the initial 50-50 finished, Stokesy went back into the sheds to grab a drink and for them to decide who was going to come up with them. And we stayed out on the field in a huddle, and that was where Kane and Ross kind of decided on what was going to happen and decided Bolty would bowl it and decided that me and Gut would go out. And it was one of those things. We had a job to do, I guess. We had a job to do in the field for an over. I never would have forgiven myself if I'd misfielded 1 for 4 because I was thinking about batting in 10 minutes time. So I was pretty focused, I guess, on the job at hand, which was fielding. And then once you get in, you don't have much time. I think it's only 10 minutes. So you got to get up there, change your shoes, get your batting kit on, and pretty much head straight back out there.
All right, guys. Well, I've got the footage of that super over, and I want you guys to sort of, if you can, take us through the players' eyes. And Jimmy, I appreciate that this might be a little bit pretty raw for you, mate. But you can...
Let me just go and get a beer. Just go and grab a beer out of the fridge. 1 second.
I might need something a bit stronger. So obviously, Joff misses by a good half foot there. And look, those are one of those ones that sort of go 50-50. I think it's probably a New Zealander would say it just cuts the line. An Englishman would say it's probably just inside. But look, at this stage, I was kind of thinking I just really wanted to make contact with every ball, make guys field it. And then obviously if Joff missed, you're looking to try and tonk it into the second tier. So he obviously bowled a pretty tidy first couple of balls there.
As Jimmy said, it's that pressure at that end that's why he's one of the best. It's because you can, even though it's a wide, you back yourself to do it again. So it was. Yeah,
and I think that as a batsman. I remember walking out and going, "Geez, we need 16 here." Realistically, if he hits 5 Yorkers, there's probably not a whole lot I can do. So it was just a case of trying to stay as still as possible, do that back and across movement, and try and make clean contact with one. Obviously, like that one was lucky enough to come out of the middle.
You know what? I don't know why, a bit like when you speak about your journey a little bit, I feel like for me also, because I feel like I've played for so long, and this probably might have been my last game for England, I just felt in the back of my mind, not in terms of arrogance or complacent, I just felt like even when you hit that for 6, I still felt in the back of my mind, I thought Joff was one of the best and he'll always come back and bowl well. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure I believe in stuff like written in the stars, but I sort of felt like we were still going to win it, even when it got so close. And I'm pretty sure you guys felt that also, but it just sort of one of them feelings,
How sweet did you strike that, Nish? I mean, it's gone a fair way. I imagine the adrenaline was pretty high. Did you feel it off the bat?
In batsman's terms, I don't think it would be what you call an easy swing. I think it'd be fair to say I snatched at it a little bit. But look, it obviously came out of the middle and there was a bit of a short boundary to that side. And look, as you can see, Tim's pretty happy. Luckily, there was no microphone around his neck at that point in time, I think.
As it got further into the over, I don't think at that stage Jofra had bowled. He'd just gone for Yorkers. He hadn't bowled a slow ball or a bouncer. Were you sort of waiting for that, expecting that?
It was something we thought about and we talked about. And, I sort of said to Gap, I was like, mate, if he decides to go short and I miss it, that's just an unbelievably ballsy play with that short boundary out there and the possibility of a top edge for 6 or anything like that. So we were just saying he's almost 90% going to keep going Yorkers. And only he would be able to tell you whether he did miss Yorkers or whether he decided to go back to a more length kind of delivery. But obviously on that wicket that day, which was pretty difficult to bat on, it was tough to time those balls well.
Liam, whereabouts were you fielding, mate? And I suppose as this got the twos kept mounting up, take us into your mindset.
I think I was short third man for Jimmy. I think I was, as you said, you put yourself in a situation. What can I do for the game right now? Is you don't want to midfield, but in the back of your mind, you can also take a blinding catch, and that could be the one that wins the World Cup. So you want it to come to you. You're happy in bowling absolute seed of Yorkers not coming to you. But there was scoring after the first wide, and then the dot on the 6th, they keep scoring, and it got down to a point where you thought one blow here and it's game over. And also for me, I'm thinking as a bowler, what would I bowl here, and how's he going to go about it? And I was hoping he was going to keep sending the Yorkers in because I know he's consistent with them. And with that such a short boundary that side, even if the slow ball you half cloth it could have went out the ground as well. But I thought in my mind he was going to stick with the Yorkers. But make sure my hands are ready, walking in, and pretty much all the basics of what you can do.
Jimmy, 3 off 2. I think does Kumar come up and talk to you? Will you clarify maybe that you do need to beat them? A tie will be no good.
Yeah, in all honesty, we knew that already. I just was a bit puffed from the 2 twos, the 2 balls earlier. So I wanted to take a chance to try and steal an extra 10, 15 seconds to get the heart rate back down again. But in all honesty, this ball's probably the one that haunts me the most, I think. I sort of, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, like, the only bad result here is either miss or a hole out, in which case we're going to need 3 off 1, which is a tough ask. So I saw it was short, and I kind of just tried to ride over the top of it a little bit, and obviously sort of chunked it down, and it bloody hit the laces on my boot and rolled straight back to Jofra. I sort of look at that moment and go, geez, if it had hit the outside half of my foot and rolled out to square leg, we probably would have come back for 2, and what else would have happened? But as we mentioned earlier, the chips didn't really fall for us, and obviously me and Guppy here just talking about, he's going, what do you think we should do? And I just said, mate, just back yourself, just stand still, just try and hit hard down the ground, and geez, I'll run my shoes off trying to get back, and the rest is history.
Liam, did you think about running up, throwing some words to the bowler and the captain there, or just sitting tight at short third?
I was sitting tight, mate. Obviously, in terms of J-Roy, when he fumbled before, J-Roy is one of the quickest to the ball, but I actually seen him fumble a few times like that. He sort of gets ahead of himself because he's so quick to the ball. So when it went out to him, it was either going to be in his hands and quick and a run out, like, because he's one of the best when he gets it in his hands. I'm just hoping he picks it up. So, for me, I leave it to the captain, leave it to the bowler, doing a good job so far. It's like, well, let's just see what happens. Just be ready to take a catch or stop the ball, and whatever happens, right?
The noise and atmosphere was just unbelievable. Nish, did you get a chance to have a look up and notice it, or were you just in the zone here?
I actually drank it in earlier in the over, sort of after the 6.
Get there, Gup.
But yeah, it's one of those things. I knew it wouldn't be going to my end as soon as he hit it, so I actually had enough time to touch down at the striker's end and basically turn and watch as Gup was running. And look, I think that image, I remember seeing Gup dive and knowing that if Joss got it in his hands and got to the stumps, he'd be nowhere near. And obviously he did that cleanly. And I remember from my sort of vantage point, I could see Gup and I could see the stumps, and then I just looked up and I could see the rest of the lads on the balcony sort of reacting like they reacted. And yeah, I think it's fair to say that's probably an image that isn't going to leave anytime soon.
And I suppose quite contrasting for you, Liam. Ian Smith said it best, ecstasy and agony, really, for contrasting emotions for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing at the end there. You obviously celebrate, and it's the best thing of my career, you know? So it's, as a kid, you think about that in your garden when you're at 6, 7, 8. It's like, take this catch or hit a 6 to win the World Cup. And it was that point, really. It was... but we also felt as well, because the situation with the World Cup when we got beat, you know how the other team are feeling, and you have your exciting, this is amazing stuff, but you also know I've got friends in the New Zealand team, and you know, like I'm close with some of them guys, and you know it's absolute heartache for some of them. So you want to be respectful as well, you know. So you're always going to celebrate. Everyone's going to celebrate, but also you want to be respectful to the other guys, because it's painful, right? And New Zealand have been in that situation before. But yeah, obviously the best part of my career to date. It'll go down as one of the best games of cricket ever, I'm sure, especially with that. In England it will anyway, because obviously the Super Over and how it was won and stuff like that. It was an amazing day with a rain delayed start, and then it all sort of dragged out, and the day just went on forever. But it was an amazing game of cricket, and as I said, I'm thankful the wicket did do a little bit. It made the game more interested. Rather than being 380 versus 370, whatever. So heartache for you guys, but yeah, it was an amazing day.
Yeah, and Jimmy, can you remember much? I mean, immediately after that, I remember having to grab you over to do an interview, and you'd been consoling Gup as well. I imagine it'd be all a bit of a blur, that sort of hour post game with so much going on, presentations, noise, and whatnot.
No, it's not a blur. I wish it was a blur. I remember everything absolutely vividly. I remember, going over and doing an interview with the Sky guys, and then going back into the changing room after watching England lift the cup. And I remember old mate Andrew with his clipboard tapping me on the shoulder when I sat down at my station, going, "Yeah, you've been randomly selected to go pee in a cup." So that was where I immediately had to go off to, and then. It's funny, I remember sitting in the bowels of Lords, sort of waiting as old mate filled out my forms, and I sort of looked over his shoulder, and they were replaying the Super Over on TV, and this bloke kind of looked over his shoulder and then went to one of his mates and went, turn that off, I reckon. And the mate went up and flicked the TV off, and I was sort of like, yep, that's going to be like that for a little while. But then we went back upstairs, and I actually returned into the change room, and the lads were all down in the outfield with the friends and the family, and having a couple of drinks, and the England boys and their friends and family were all there as well. And it was a kind of a surreal moment, really, to sit on the Lord's outfield after something like that, and have a beer or something, whatever the sponsor of the World Cup was. And look, it was a interesting 48 hours after that. We'll put it like that.
I think the best word is surreal there as well, Jimmy. And this is a amazing photo, really, with Chris Wokes there with Martin Guptill and yourself. Liam, you mentioned there, considering your opposition, and you guys had obviously been knocked out in the final of the 2016 T20 World Cup. As you look back now and you look back on that game, does the emotions, has it changed in your eyes? How has it developed since that day, which I imagine would have been pure ecstasy at the time? Yeah,
it's obviously amazing feeling and stuff, and it didn't sort of sink in. I had a little bit, as soon as I got off the pitch, when we get called to the dressing room, I got emotional. I had a minute or so emotional, and I guess it hit people at different stages. Because it was on Instagram and Twitter, there was the run out with the Titanic music in the background that kept getting played and showed. And I think it was Woody was having breakfast and that came on. I think he had a tear in his eye eating his sausages or something. So different stages, people felt different, but it was such an ecstasy. And from that, obviously, you had a couple of days and then it's back to normal. I was sat on my sofa in Wimbledon watching Netflix. It was just like that, right? So that's the thing where you're gonna love every minute of that World Cup and how it was. The game was played against two good teams, two of the better teams in the World Cup, and I think the England boys, we always respect and like the way New Zealand play the cricket. And I'm sure one of the reasons Morg sort of ran this ship the way it was due to Baz and the way he sort of ran that team. Play aggressive, be positive, but not reckless. And I think that was the culture we took from that, helped us win the World Cup.
Yeah, I imagine there's so many big moments in that matches. I mean, there's always what ifs in games. I suppose for both of you, do you ever find yourselves lying in bed at night thinking, what if this had happened? What if it had changed? For either of you, I know many of the fans definitely do that.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much every night, Matt, if I'm being honest. Thanks for that question. That's a good one.
Was that right?
Yeah, like it's one of those things. I think, after a while, you kind of, you accept it. It's kind of strange. You accept it, but I don't think you get over it. It kind of just, it is what it is. We move on. Lots of, worse things happen on the planet to a lot of our people rather than losing a game of cricket. But it does. Yeah, every now and then you see something and it sort of comes back and you remember a French cut or a boundary or whatever, and you sort of go, geez, how would things be different now if things had gone differently? But look, it's hard to complain. The overall experience of the World Cup was pretty special, and I'm sure in 40 years' time there'll be pride that we sort of had part in one of the greatest finals in the history of sport. But we'll give it 39 more and then see ya.
Is it the same for you, Liam, in terms of reflecting on moments in the games and if things could have been different?
You always sort of back yourself, and I mentioned before, I would love to have went out and smacked a quick 25 to win the World Cup. But also then that would have been amazing. But also it went down to the Super Over, which never really happens in a World Cup final. So that just made it more dramatic. So for me, that couldn't have went any sort of better because the way that it was played right. So I felt like I bowled quite nicely, the team bowled nicely, and the way that we won in the Super Over, it's going to go down as one of the most the biggest game ever played, especially in a World Cup final. So for me, obviously, I guess it's easy for me to say it's definitely one of the best days of my life, and the contrast to Jimmy, So it's definitely one of the best games of cricket I've played. It's a World Cup final. I'm not going to sort of sit here and be upset about it. It's an amazing achievement that we won, and it's something we've worked hard for, right? We felt like as a team the last 3 or 4 years, and the way we've got ranked number 1 and we've beat people home and away, we felt we were in a good place. It wasn't like a fluky World Cup. So we felt like we deserved to win the World Cup as well. Not being complacent or arrogant, just that we felt like, as in sports terms, we did ticked all the boxes, did all the 1%ers, and it made for, even, as I said, a better finish for the World Cup the way it went and the Super Over.
You mentioned there the way Owen built his team off Brendan, and also you enjoyed playing against the Kiwi lads. They were kind of well commended how they took it after that game, particularly Kane, and that something that you guys felt in terms of obviously you feel compassion for your opposition, but in terms of how, I suppose, graceful they held themselves after that match as well? Yeah,
100%. And as I said, you do feel for them because I'd shared dressing rooms, I'd traveled with people, Balti, Monroe, and Kane I played with a lot. So you know these guys really well. You've played a lot of cricket with them and you become friends with them. So you don't want to see people like that. It's on the day that opposition, you're enemy on the field, but the good people, you don't want to see people obviously in bits and heartbroken because they get beat in a World Cup final, but obviously you got to take it on the chin, which these guys did. I felt we did the same in the T20. Obviously, it's shocking. You feel like world's come to an end, but as I said, you move on and learn. And it's just that World Cup situation. It's such an effort to get to a World Cup final. You know how much it takes, and it takes so much to rebuild. And there's so little bits in a World Cup. If you have a bad day and you get beat, you might not make it to the final, and you do everything right to get to that final, and it's such a journey. But definitely, we know that New Zealand boys represent themselves. It's always well in a positive way, and good sportsmen, and take it on the chin and move on. That's always been the way they do it.
Jimmy, just wrapping that up, the aftermath of the game, the next few days, and then getting home to New Zealand, what was that experience like when you potentially got a better taste of how, I suppose, proud and also gutted the country was when you got home?
Look, I had an interesting journey home. I obviously mentioned before I went up to Liverpool and watched the netball girls win the World Cup, and it was obviously a bit of a cathartic experience. But then I actually got on Canada Airlines to Toronto and played in not the CPL, the Canadian T20 League over there for 2 or 3 weeks, which was absolutely perfect for me, just to go into a bit of a lower pressure environment, let's say, and just be able to get back on the horse quickly and get back into cricket in a different context. And I had a teammate in Faf du Plessis over there who I could have a couple of hearty chats to over a couple of beers about disappointing World Cups. So he managed to put the arm around me, and look, once I got back to New Zealand, I was most of the way through the worst of it. But as I mentioned before, it's going to be a long journey, I think.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate it. It's been good to chat. As I said, seeing the other side of the World Cup and stuff. So I appreciate you having me on.
Cool. Thanks very much. Liam Plunkett in there from the UK. And Nish, I feel like I need to apologise for sort of taking you through that and asking you questions. And I'm thinking that's not the right way to ask him that. And I was scared as well. But I know myself and the fans really appreciate actually being able to, have you to talk through it for us. And hopefully it can kind of be a little bit more cathartic for them as well. And I appreciate you going into the vault there for us, because I know that's still pretty raw for yourself, but also a lot of the team members who probably wouldn't be feeling up to doing that.
Yeah, look, it is what it is, isn't it? Obviously, I think talking about it is going to help more than hinder. I think, look, a few of the lads, obviously we appreciate the support as well massively from the New Zealand public. When we talk about the fact that no one wants to talk about anything else, it's never been, I've never had a negative interaction with any of the public. No one's ever come up to me and said, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? It's been much more a case of how good was it, and the sort of pride that a lot of New Zealanders felt in the team. And look, it's been a journey. For some of us more than others, it's been a journey, but and that's why I think a lot of us are looking forward so much to getting back out on the field and getting through this sort of global pandemic going on at the moment, and get out on the field and make some more memories that don't involve Guppy getting run out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you've put it beautifully, mate. And I think that's a great place to leave it. So thanks very much for joining us on Cricket Nation Cast episode 4, the Cricket World Cup review. Nish, you're a hot favourite to get back on this show sometimes. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you'll do us the honour of coming on again at some point.
Pleasure, mate. Will do.
Thanks, buddy.